The Butcher of Bengal, the man who killed 1,000 travelers for gold. The legend of the butcher. In the shadowed jungles of Bengal, a tale was whispered. A tale of death and gold. Travelers spoke of a path where the trees seemed to close in, where the air grew cold, and where the unlucky never returned. At the heart of this dark legend was one name, Thug Behram, the Butcher of Bengal. For decades he was a ghost, a whisper in the night, a shadow that moved with silent precision. But those who saw his face never lived to tell the tale. Thug Behram was no ordinary man. He was a leader, a mastermind, and a killer whose weapon was not a blade, but a sacred cloth. Wrapped around his victims' necks, the cloth was both a tool and a symbol, a sign of the Thuggee cult, a deadly brotherhood bound by blood and faith. To outsiders, Behram was a merchant, a guide, even a healer, but to his followers, he was a prophet of death. The jungles of Bengal were his hunting ground. Caravans disappeared, merchants vanished, and rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Behram's eyes could hypnotize, others claimed he made pacts with dark spirits. But the truth was far more terrifying. He was a man with a plan, a method, and an unquenchable thirst for gold. His victims were chosen with care, travelers seeking safe passage, pilgrims lost in faith, merchants weighed down by their wealth. Behram and his cult would offer them protection, friendship even, and then, under the cover of darkness, the butcher would strike. Yet, for all his cruelty, Behram was also a strategist. He did not kill without reason. Each death was a sacrifice, each body a step closer to a twisted form of salvation. For Behram, death was not just an act, it was a ritual, and the bodies continued to pile up. But even the Butcher of Bengal had his secrets. He was not always a monster. Somewhere beneath the darkness was a man with a story, a man who was once innocent. But that innocence had been buried long ago beneath 1,000 corpses, the origins of a monster. Thug Behram was not born a killer. His journey into darkness began in the poverty-stricken alleys of Bengal. As a child, he saw hunger and death too soon, his mother wasting away, his father a broken man. Begging for scraps, Behram learned the cruelty of life, a cruelty that carved a hole in his heart. But poverty was not his only teacher. In the dark corners of the city, whispers spoke of a brotherhood, a secret cult that worshipped death as a goddess. They were the Thuggees, a hidden sect bound by rituals and blood oaths. To them, death was sacred, and killing was an act of devotion. Young Behram became their apprentice, learning the sacred art of strangulation with a cloth known as the rumal. It was not just a weapon, it was a holy tool, a means of offering souls to their dark goddess, Kali. To Behram, this was not murder. It was salvation. He learned the ways of the cult, how to blend in, how to gain the trust of travelers, how to strike without warning. He learned to bury his conscience beneath ritual and faith. With each kill, he grew colder, harder, until the boy he had been was swallowed by the darkness. But there was a hunger in Behram, a hunger for more gold, more power, more blood. He did not just want to serve the Thuggees, he wanted to rule them. And so, the legend of the Butcher of Bengal was born. As Behram's thirst for power grew, so did his control over the Thuggee cult. No longer just a follower, he became a leader, a master of rituals, a commander of shadows. His followers were not just murderers, they were disciples, bound to him by fear and faith. Under Behram's leadership, the Thuggees became more than a secret cult. They became a network of killers, a brotherhood with their own code. They hunted in packs, moving from village to village, offering protection to travelers. But their kindness was a lie, a mask hiding the face of death. Behram taught his men the art of deception. They would befriend their victims, share food, laugh, and gain their trust. Then, when the moment was right, they would strike. The sacred cloth wrapped around a throat, the struggle brief, the silence eternal. But Behram's ambition did not stop at murder. He wanted gold, endless gold. His followers looted the corpses of their victims, stealing coins, jewels, and treasures. The jungles of Bengal became a graveyard of the forgotten, a place where the rich and poor alike vanished into the earth. Yet even as the bodies piled up, Behram was careful. He buried his victims in mass graves, scattered across the jungle, hidden beneath the roots of ancient trees. To the outside world, he was a merchant, a guide, a harmless traveler. But in the shadows, he was the Butcher of Bengal. For years, Behram's killings went unnoticed, lost in the chaos of the jungles. But whispers began to spread. Merchants spoke of caravans that vanished without a trace. Villagers whispered of strange men who appeared at night, offering friendship but leaving only death. Local rulers grew suspicious. Missing travelers meant lost revenue, and fear spread faster than the jungle's shadow. Stories of the Thuggees reached the ears of the British East India Company, which ruled much of India at the time. To them, the Thuggees were a threat, not just to lives, but to their power. Behram's web of death was vast, but so was the British determination to stop him. Under the leadership of British officer William Sleeman, the company launched a campaign to hunt the Thuggees. Villages were searched, suspects interrogated, and the jungle combed. But Behram was a ghost, always one step ahead. His followers remained loyal, but fear began to crack their loyalty. Some were captured, and under torture they revealed the name, Behram. The jungle whispered of death, but the day had come when death whispered back. The Butcher of Bengal was captured, his eyes defiant, his silence unbroken. He stood trial not as a monster, but as a man who had built a kingdom of corpses. Behram's followers betrayed him, their loyalty shattered by fear. One by one they spoke, revealing the secrets of the Thuggee cult. The sacred cloth, the rituals, the mass graves hidden beneath the ancient trees. The truth was a horror beyond imagination. On the gallows, Behram looked out over the crowd. Was there fear in his eyes? Regret? No one knew. The rope tightened, and with a final breath the butcher was gone. But his shadow remained. The jungles of Bengal grew quiet, the paths safer, yet the fear lingered. The Thuggee cult was hunted down, crushed beneath the heel of the British East India Company. But whispers of Behram's legend survived. Tales of the butcher who killed for gold, who worshipped death, who left 1,000 souls buried in silence. What can we learn from the story of Thug Behram? That greed is a hunger that cannot be satisfied. That evil often hides behind a friendly face. That the darkness within can consume even the most innocent heart. And so, this tale ends, but the lessons remain. History remembers those who brought terror, but it also remembers those who stood against it. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe to Uncle Luke Tells for more chilling and powerful stories from history.